snippets. And Mr Speaker, let's be very clear about this. Pelagic fish are crucial to Tasmania's marine ecosystem. And as John Bryant of the TCT
Minister's time has expired.
has said, small pelagic fishing around Tasmania already has a bad record, and I will ask Mr O'Halloran to complete some of the comments that I wish to make, because my time has now expired.
Member for Lyons, Mr Hiddink.
Mr Deputy Speaker, the Greens Party has been aware of the impending arrival of the FV Margiris for a couple of months. And I know that to be a fact. I know that to be a fact. And not a word from them. In fact, when I brought to the Minister's attention that there was some concern out there, I was laughed at by the Greens at estimates for even raising it. So stand by now for a classic Greens campaign. We've got a latest campaign now.
Get to the issue.
We'll
deal with the issue.
And the Greens standing up here, making out they're the friends of the recreational fishing community, is an absolute joke.
Yes, we are.
It was the Greens. These same Tasmanian Greens that pilloried the former Minister, Mr Llewellyn,
yes,
when on the Broody bioregion.
That's right.
Because the Greens wanted to make it an absolute no-take marine.
That's right, for the benefit of recreational fishers.
Right around the Tasman Peninsula, right around Broody Island, they want to make it a marine no-take area. So to stand up here and make out that you're the friends of the recreational fishing won't wash. Not for 1 minute anywhere around Tasmania.
Rubbish.
Won't wash.
What are you going to do about Margiris?
See,
the Liberals going to do about Margiris?
the Liberals are briefed by the owners of the Margiris at the time, and shortly after that we had representations from people who asked us to look into the ramifications of a vessel of this size coming to Australia, coming to Tasmania. We did so. We called immediately on the Minister for Tasmanian Fisheries, Brian Green, to assure himself of the facts of the matter, so that the concerns of the recreational fisheries, the concern of the scale fishing industry, those matters were considered by the State Minister for Fisheries.
Yeah, but they haven't been taken into account, have they?
I have to say, I think the Minister could have done, if he had assured himself early enough, he could have done a better job in getting out there and explaining that. But for all that,
let's hear what you're concerned about.
It does appear as though he has made himself, availed himself of all the
what are you concerned about? The Liberals?
So,
that's what we want to know.
These, the Seafish company in Tasmania are good people. They've invested a lot of money in Tasmania, often in a very thankless investment.
So have the recreational fishing industry, so have the game fishing industry, and we all invest in the nature and the biomass to be left for generations to come.
But don't you get to make a speech? Because you're talking in my time.
I'm not the second speaker. I'm drawing you back to the point.
The Seafish Tasmania do a terrific job at Trawler in attempting to build a business out of nutraceutical oils from being extracted from waste, much of which latterly has been going to landfill in Tasmania, the waste from the salmonid industry, and that is highly desirable to produce high-value products out of that, and they're working very, very hard.
Talk about dodge the subject.
On that issue.
Two nets full of an operational.
Which doesn't mean that there's been a doubling of the take from both redbait and jack mackerel in the eastern zone. That's what I was referring to. You add in blue mackerel, though, it does change the equation. Mr. Speaker, what's been suggested today needs to be weighed against one really important point in terms of
the Minister has the call.
What needs to be weighed against one really important point with respect to the whole sustainability argument, and that is that we are talking about a quota that is at about 10% based on the science of the total biomass, which the advice I've received, and remembering this is a national decision, is a very conservative amount with respect to the fishery overall. So, therefore, 90% of the biomass continues normally, and I can say to recreational.
It is a massive boat. Two pools of its net. It has a net capacity of 9,500 tonnes. Two, I've got a lot to say, so I'll have a talk to you later about that. 2 pulls of its net will catch its quota. So the question is, what is it going to do when it catches its 2 netfuls in a day, the 364 other days of the year? What is it? So then what's it going to do? So it employs, it's got 40 people on board, it's offshore. Are you trying to tell me it's been brought down here from Europe all the way down here for one day's work? Is that what you're trying to tell me? So the first issue of concern, Mr Deputy Speaker, is around the scale of this boat. It is a super trawler. The second area for your education, the second area of concern is around the legacy of this and other super trawlers in the Northern Hemisphere. Now, what they have basically done, they have, Mr Deputy Speaker, plundered. They have vacuum cleaned. They have clear-felled Northern Hemisphere fish stocks to such an extent that they are no longer welcome in those waters. And even if they were, the resource has been depleted to such an extent that there is no target species for them to catch. And what they're doing is they're looking around for other markets, other easy targets, like southern ocean mackerel stocks, for example, to do exactly to those what they've done to fisheries in the Northern Hemisphere. Now let's talk about the southern bluefin tuna. Now, southern bluefin tuna are a threatened species in their own right, and they're still recovering from exactly this sort of exploitation many years ago. Exploitation by the commercial fishing industry, and it's still going on in the Northern Hemisphere. Just have a look what the Japanese are doing to bluefin, to tuna stocks. They are an iconic Tasmanian game fishing species. Now, as well as southern bluefin tuna, we have many other pelagic predators that will be impacted from the depletion of redbait and mackerel. For example, other species of tuna, billfish, marlin for example, and broadbill, swordfish, penguins and seals, all codependent on redfish and mackerel. So the thing about it is, all of these species are interconnected in food webs. The mackerel stocks in particular are fairly poorly understood, I have to say, in the research that I've been able to do on this. So, for example, we're not 100% sure of what they eat. We're not 100% sure of what eats them, although we've got some indications. And certainly, we Greens have spoken in here quite a lot about the precautionary principle. We know that fish stocks have been plundered right around the world for their protein content. And I am just so worried that the huge capacity of this super trawler, where I've read it can actually take hundreds of thousands of tonnes of fish per annum. But, well, why is it coming? Why is it making the journey from the Northern Hemisphere down here to catch 9,000 tonnes of mackerel? It just does not stack up to me at all. Now, I just want to show you a graph I've got here, and this is about the mackerel stocks. And it's about southern mackerel stocks. The ones in the Northern Hemisphere have been plundered almost to extinction. And if you look at this graph, what it is, it's a graph of total stock biomass, and I've already explained what those figures look like, 30 million to 3 million in 20 years, tonnes. If you look at spawning biomass, well, hello, it's exactly what you'd expect. As the total biomass is reduced, that is catching adult fish, then sure enough, there's a small lag time, and then the spawning biomass crashes as well. And that is exactly what has happened to southern mackerel stocks. Yep. So, and then you've got the impact, the other big impact here.
They're all nuts.
The other big impact here is on these super trawlers is they're quite indiscriminate in terms of the way that they catch fish. Now, we all know that recreational fishers are bound by catch sizes.
Time has expired. Question is that the matter be noted. All those in favour say aye. All those against no. The ayes have it. Oh. I have a message from the Legislative Council. Ask the clerk to read.
Mr Speaker, the Legislative Council, having this day agreed with amendments to the bill intended the bill for an act to make provision with respect to the salaries, superannuation and allowances to be paid to members of Parliament, now returns to the same